Now, Liverpool need signings, no doubt about that. So are they about to spend big on the PSG winger, Bradley Barcola? Mark, what can you tell us?
Yeah, a little bit of information into us at Sky Sports News over the last couple of hours with regards to this. We know that Liverpool fans perhaps a little bit frustrated or disappointed that they haven't been active so far in the window, but there has been a small step forward because we know that they've held preliminary talks with PSG over a potential deal for Bradley Barcola. You know, he is potentially the marquee signing that Liverpool fans are looking for, or certainly one of many big signings over the course of this summer. They need to give Andoni Iraola all the tools they possibly can to compete in the Premier League and on the Champions League front. Those talks have not progressed to any formal offer. However, we understand there is a big gap in valuation between what PSG want, which we believe to be 145 million euros, and what Liverpool are willing to pay. Now, we are, 3 and a bit weeks away from deadline day. So there's plenty of time for posturing. There's plenty of time for hard ball. There's plenty of time for clubs to say, well, we're not going to pay that and we'll just walk away, no problem at all. This time next week, this time in 2 weeks, this time in 3 weeks, the stance will change. We know that PSG have signed Akliouche, so they've got a player in already. We know that Bradley Barcola has had limited game time and the player has been frustrated at not playing as much as he would like, particularly in key games in the Champions League and the Champions League final, where he's not finding himself in that starting 11. So therefore, you've got a player that's open and has a desire to go to Liverpool. PSG, in theory, wants to try and cash in, and this would be a huge amount of money for someone that's not in their starting 11. And we know that Liverpool are looking to strengthen, and they need to strengthen out wide. So it all fits. It says this is potentially going to happen, but right now there's a massive gap in valuation, so there's no progressive talks.
James, Mark says there's plenty of time until deadline day, but actually, don't Liverpool need to get on with this if they're going to do it?
It feels that way, and the fans are very concerned because it does look like they're short in a number of areas of the pitch. Defence looks like an area right now where you're wondering who is going to partner Virgil van Dijk in that first game of the season. He's not returned yet from from his pre-season break following the World Cup, but clearly there is a need for a marquee signing on the flanks. Mohamed Salah has gone, and when you look at their options going into this season, things will look different when Hugo Ekitike returns from injury. But right now you've got Victor Munoz, 23 years of age. What's he going to be like in his first season in the Premier League? Rio Ngamoa, huge potential. First full season where he's going to get proper outings. Cody Gakpo, and you could add Federico Chiesa to that list, but that does not look like a side who are going to be challenging for the title. Last season they were red-hot favourites to defend their crown. This season things look very different, and the caveat is they made a late choice to dispense with Arne Slot, and that would have affected their transfer plans as well. Bring in Andoni Iraola, different style of play, but it does feel like they need to do something, and whether it means they potentially need to pay slightly above what they want to get a player in the door now, because time is ticking, just over 2 weeks until Andoni Iraola's first game in charge away at Newcastle.
I think Liverpool's stance in the transfer window, they will always only pay the money that they are comfortable with. And if they have to walk away from a deal, Yan Diomande, for example, they were interested in the player, but the figure that they were being quoted was perhaps higher than they were comfortable with. And then, of course, as soon as Real Madrid turn up at the negotiations table, they know that that's where the player wants to go.
Okay.
So I think they will always say, we will pay what's right for the club, we will do what's right for the club, we want to strengthen, but it has to be financially sound for us.
All right, but let me throw this into the mix then. With Vinicius Junior staying at Real Madrid and not going to Arsenal,
yep.
Could Arsenal suddenly have an interest in Barcola? Hence, Liverpool, if they want him, get on with it.
Well, this is what we love, and we've seen it so much, haven't we? You know, Newcastle were interested in Victor Munoz, Liverpool steal in and get him at the last moment. And, you know, we've seen a lot of hijacks, we've seen a lot of players that you think are headed one way and suddenly they end up going somewhere else. And when you dither and dally and you don't get the deal done and you don't get it signed up and sorted, then there is always a huge risk. And we've seen it before in transfer windows where players have a medical with a club and then they end up going and signing for someone else. So that kind of thing still goes on, and it is possible. My information is that Barcola has indicated that he would desire playing for Liverpool. That would be a move that he would be open to. So that is one of the positive things. However, do Arsenal have the money to go and get Bradley Barcola? Do they have that cash, which is going to be, let's be honest, it's going to be around £120 million, all in. It might be 100 plus 20, it might be 110 plus 10. It's going to be that kind of fee that I think will get the deal done, despite PSG's stance of 145 million euros. I think that will soften day by day as we get closer to deadline day. So you are right. You're absolutely spot on with what you say. I think there is very few teams in world football that can get to the type of money that Liverpool and Arsenal's Premier League sides can get to for a player of this calibre. And there are very few sides that Bradley Barcola would want to go and play for. I'm intrigued by what happens. We know that the Vinicius Junior deal was always going to be an ambitious one for Arsenal. You know, the figures at play were huge figures from the outset. And it would have involved him taking a massive pay cut. So it always looked like it was never going to quite happen. This is a slightly different scenario. But let's wait and see. Because you're right to point it out. You dither, you lose out.
Exactly.
You don't want to lose out this summer.
All right.